Okay, guys, so we are talking about percent of change notes. Okay, so percent of change is when you go from one quantity to the other and you're trying to find the percent of what that value is changing from. So we mainly talk about it with like money and things like that, but you're just taking one amount of something and increasing it or decreasing it to a new amount and finding the percent of change. How much has that changed in an amount of time? Okay, so there's two types of percent of change, and there's a percent increase or decrease. So in percent of change with an increase means the value goes up in price, or value goes up from like 10 dogs to 20 dogs, or decrease where it's the opposite and I want to find from $15, now my new price is $10. I want to find the percent of change from those two amounts. So you can have two different ways of looking at percent of change, and when we think percent of change, we're going to think proportion. So percent of change is, you can think of it as the change in the amount over the original amount is equal to your percent out of 100. And whenever we think of change, you need to think of it as difference over original equals percent out of 100. So you're always going to be subtracting something with percent of change. When you see percent of change, you're going to subtract something. All right. So I'm going to use this first one because it says percent of change, and that's usually how it's going to be asked. It's going to be say like percent of change. What is the new percent, or what percent did it increase or decrease by? And so it will usually say change, but you can also think of difference. So remember, change or difference equals, you're going to subtract, and that is from either the new minus the old, or the old minus the new. New to old is an increase. Old minus new would be your decrease. All right, so here we go. My first item is a bike, and it has an original price of 110. My new price is 96. What is the percent of change? And is it an increase or decrease? All right, so we know it's going to be a decrease because it goes from 110 to $96. Okay, so whenever we have this, we want to write our formula or our proportion. So we're going to write change over original equals percent, which we don't know, out of 100. Okay, now the easiest thing that I can do is I can go off to the side, and I can go above the change, and I'm going to say 110 minus 96. That's your change over your original price, which is 110, equals X out of 100. Okay, so that's what's going to go on top of our fraction, is the change over the original equals X out of 100. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 110 minus 96, and I get 14. So 14 is my change over my original, which is 110, equals X out of 100. So we just rewrote it here, but this was all our work. Okay, so you cross multiply, you get 1400 equal to 110x. All right, so you divide by 110 on both sides. The zeros cross out because they're in the same place value, and now you just divide. 140 divided by 11. Okay, so 11 goes into 14 one time. 4 minus 1 is 3, bring down the 0. 11 goes into 32 times, that's 22. 8's remaining, bring down, add a decimal, bring it down, bring down the 0. 11 goes in 87 times, 77. 3's remaining, bring down the 0. Oh, I see a pattern. So it's going to be 12.72 repeating percent of change. Okay, so that's what you're going to do every single time. Okay, so let's try the second one in my scooter. So I'm talking about a scooter now. So it says I'm looking for the percent of change. All right, so I have my original price, which is $45. Now my new price is $56, and I want to know, is it an increase or decrease in price? First, so I look, okay, it goes from 45 to 56, so it's an increase. Okay, so this is my last one was a decrease. This one's an increase because it's increasing in price. And so we're going to do the same thing. You're going to write change over original equals percent out of 100. We don't know the percent, so that's where our X goes. So our change is subtraction. So 56 minus 45 goes on top. And our original price is what it started at, so we have our $45. So now I go off to the side and I subtract 56 minus 45, and I get 11. Okay, so now I just write it again as a proportion. So I have 11 over 45 equals X out of 100. Okay, so I cross multiply. And I get 1100, because 11 times 100 is 1100, equals 45x. Yep, that's right. So now I'm going to divide by 45. Divide by 45. Okay, and I'm going to just divide. I wrote a little too big. So 1100 divided by 45. Okay, 45 goes into 110 two times. That's 90. 11 minus 9 is 2. 45 goes into 200 4 times. I get 180. Add a decimal, bring it up. Add a 0, bring it down, because I need to keep on going. Oh, I see a pattern. So my answer is going to be 24.4 repeating percent of change. That's how much percentage is from 45 to 56, how much it is increased in price. Okay, good job. So that's some percent of change problems. Now what we're going to do is we are taking the original price and I'm trying to find my new price. Okay, so it's a little bit different. We're not going to do a proportion because it's technically easier just to do it a different way. But I'm going to show you the proportion here, and then you're going to do multiplying by, look at, what the world? He's barking. Okay, so here we go. My TV was originally $580. I do not know my new price, so that's my X. My percent of change is 25%, and it's an increase or decrease, so it's a decrease. So I'm going to set up my proportion. So change over my original equals percent out of 100. Okay, so I do not know my change of how it's going to change in price, so I'm going to leave that as X. My original is 580, and I know I'm increasing it by 25% out of 100. So I rewrite it, equals to 25 out of 100. Okay, so I'm going to cross multiply. I have 580 times 25 is equal to 100x. So the first thing I gotta do is I have to multiply 580 times 25. So I'm gonna multiply those two together. Two times 0 is 0, 2 times 8 is 16, 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. And I've already multiplied the 5 by all the numbers. So look to see if you got the same answer. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to add the amount, and you get $145. Okay, well, the $145 is not the new price. It's the change of what the price is going to be doing. So when you get here, it's either going to be an increase or decrease in price. Well, it's a decrease, so I know decrease means I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to take my $580 and I'm going to subtract it by $145. Okay, and that is going to get our new price because the top number is the change by what it's going by. So 7 minus 4 is 3, 5 minus 1 is 4. So your new price is $435 compared to your original price, which is $580. And technically, $580, 25% change is just a fourth of that price. Okay, so let's look at the TV. Yay, we love TVs. Okay, so I'm going to teach you a different way to do this part. This is what we're going to talk about later when we do markup, mark down. But we'll do it the same. We'll do a proportion. I'll teach you a different way. So there's two ways you can do when you have the percentage and you have the original price. You can either set it up as a proportion like this, or you can take 300 of the original price and multiply it by your percent of change. So your first step would be to multiply 300 times 60%, okay? 300 times 60%, saying 60% of 300, that is going to be what you're increasing your price by, okay? Well, whenever we do this, we want to change our percent to a decimal. So I'm going to move it over 2 places to the left, and that's going to get you your percent as a decimal. Well, when I multiply 300 times 0.6, I'm just going to get 6 times 0, 6 times 0 again, 6 times 3 is 18, one number behind my decimal, one number behind my decimal, my answer. So I know that my TV is increasing in price by $180, okay? So step number 2 is to take your original price, which is 300, and add it to the $180 of what the change was, the percent of change. Increase means to add to the price. Decrease means to subtract. So my new price of my TV is $480. Okay, so that's just one different way for you to look at a problem that was just like the one before it. So what we found out here is that 300 plus 180 gave me $480. 300 plus 180 got me $480. This, you just need to remember to change the percent to a decimal. And you can only do this when you know the percent of change and the original price. We couldn't do it for original price and new price because we do not know the percent of change, okay? So that's the front. We're gonna go on to the back. If you have any questions going forward, we can help you there in a second. Okay, I'll see you on the back. Flip it over.